Welcome to another edition of World of Africa on WION World is One. We are glad you're watching and thank you very much for joining us this week. I'm Eric Njoka. The Trump administration's decision to expel the South African ambassador is its latest move against a country it has singled out for sanctions and accused of being anti-white and anti-American. Trump falsely accused the South African government of a rights violation against white Afrikaner farmers by seizing their land through a new expropriation law. No land has been seized, and the South African government has pushed back, saying U.S. criticism is driven by misinformation. That is our focus this week. The show starts now. So what's Trump's beef with South Africa? The new U.S. administration has been taking pot shots at one of Africa's most developed democracies, leveling serious allegations against the South African government that is not taking them laying down. The Ramaphosa National Coalition government and the opposition are furious with Trump, and especially his loyal bestie Elon Musk, whose father, by the way, still lives in South Africa and has had various run-ins with the authorities. This is what is happening in Pretoria amidst the whole tariffs debacle and racism allegations. It's been a roller coaster ride for South Africa ever since US President Donald Trump returned to the White House in Washington, D.C. In his blitz executive orders, the president aimed his guns at Pretoria. Trump's government started by criticizing South African policies and froze crucial aid. The United States pulled out of a climate funding deal to help developing countries transition to clean energy, one of the main beneficiaries of which is South Africa. US aid cut was the most huge action by the US to South Africa. The funding freeze could permanently impact the immunization infrastructure in the country, as well as across the continent. While South Africa was able to build up its vaccine capacity during COVID, many critics say those gains may be at risk even if USAID funding is eventually reinstated.
Such kind of funding cut has direct impact on people's lives and also on the human resource and subsequently also the investment in the infrastructure that delivers these services is at risk because once you stop, you don't come after 3 months or 4 months and find the infrastructure is still there. You may have to restart again. And, you know, this restarting, we're talking about many lives lost, many jobs lost.
And the US did not stop there. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that South Africa's ambassador to the United States is no longer welcome in the country in the latest Trump administration move targeting the African nation. Rubio, in a post on X, accused Ibrahim Rasool of being a race-baiting politician who hates President Donald Trump. Rubio declared the South African diplomat persona non grata. For weeks, Trump further fueled tensions, saying South Africa's farmers were welcome to settle in the United States after repeating his accusations that the government was confiscating land from white people. One of Trump's closest allies is South African-born billionaire Elon Musk, who has accused South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's government of having openly racist ownership lands and laws. Land ownership is a contentious issue in South Africa, with most farmland still owned by white people 3 decades after the end of apartheid. European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen also plans to mobilize a 4.7 billion euro investment package in South Africa that includes funding for a transition to clean energy and to boost vaccine manufacturing. The EU-South Africa summit came at a time of global uncertainty characterized by rising unilateralism, economic nationalism. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa said in opening remarks that reference a huge global shake-up since US leader Donald Trump took office.
If there ever was a time when it is absolutely necessary for partners who share the same values to work together, this is the time, particularly when multilateralism is under attack, particularly when the world order process is also being weakened. This is the time to work together in defense of what we believe in: democracy, the rule of law, including the respect for international law and international humanitarian law.
The US imposed tariffs of 25% on steel and aluminium imports from EU and threatened to impose a 200% tariff on wine, champagne and other alcoholic products from the 27-nation bloc. Von der Leyen said the massive EU investment package included funding for a transition to clean energy, including from the wind and sun and through the production of clean hydrogen. Or for Afrikaners' refugee status in the US, they are only one part of South Africa's white minority. Musk, who heads Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, has highlighted the land law in social media posts and cast it as a threat to South Africa's white minority. It now remains to be seen how this rocky relationship will escalate or de-escalate. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One. South Sudan is slipping towards renewed conflict and political upheaval. On March 4th, a Nuer militia with ties to Riek Machar, a former rebel leader who is now first vice president, captured an army base in Nasir, a major town on the South Sudan-Ethiopia border. Tensions are running dangerously high after an opposition-linked militia overran an army base loyal to President Salva Kiir in South Sudan's Upper Nile state. Regional leaders are urgently pressing Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar, who has ties to the militia, to calm the situation. Here is a report.
The United States has ordered all its non-emergency staff in South Sudan to leave amid rising tensions in the country. Fighting in recent days has threatened an already fragile peace deal between President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar. The two leaders signed a peace agreement in 2018 to end a 5-year civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of people, but their relationship has remained fraught. The U.S. State Department said that fighting was ongoing in South Sudan between various political and ethnic groups and that weapons are readily available to the population. President Kiir had called for calm and made an assurance that the country would not return to war. In an escalation of the tensions, a UN helicopter that had been evacuating members of the National Army was shot at, killing several people, including one crew member.
Fellow citizens, I'm appealing to you to remain calm. I have said it time and again that our country will not go back to war. Let no one take law into their hand. The government which I lead will handle this crisis. We will remain steadfast in the path of peace. My condolences to the bereaved families of the general and his men. They have died in the service of our nation.
Earlier in the week, the deputy chief of the army and 2 ministers allied to Machar were arrested by security forces, which an opposition spokesman termed a grave violation of the peace deal. The arrests of the Machar-allied officials followed clashes in the country's Upper Nile state between government forces and a militia known as the White Army, which had fought alongside Machar during the civil war.
The government is in full control of the situation, and we are in the process of addressing the situation in Nasser. Number 2, my advice to the public is that they should not listen and be agitated by this negative propaganda which is going on in the social media. This negative propaganda where everybody sits in his own room and he sends out very wild rumors.
Regional and Western diplomats warned earlier this week that the events threaten the 2018 peace agreement that put an end to a civil war that had killed some 400,000 people. There has also been criticism of recent political moves by Kiir, described by analysts as attempts to consolidate his position and sideline Machar. Last month, Kiir fired 2 of the 5 vice presidents in his unity government without consulting other stakeholders and removed the governor of Western Equatoria State, a member of Machar's movement. Fears have grown of increased hostilities.
People worrying, not only in the international community, but also in the regions as well as inside South Sudan, because the situation is fluid now, but it could go either way. More likely toward escalations is a possibility, and there are 3 conditions. We're focusing now on Nasser, which is a genuine focus because it's where we have already seen the conflicts. But there are other 2 areas that are potential flashpoints.
South Sudan, the world's newest nation, gained independence in 2011 after seceding from Sudan, but just 2 years later, following a rift between Kiir and Machar, the country descended into a civil war. The 2018 power-sharing agreement between the 2 stopped the fighting, but key elements of the deal have not been implemented, including a new constitution, an election, and the reunification of armed groups into a single army. Sporadic violence between ethnic or local groups has continued in parts of the country. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
In the arid regions of northern Kenya, where pastoralism has become a way of life for centuries, women are looking for alternative livelihoods. Faced with the devastating impacts of climate change, including prolonged droughts, some are turning to cricket farming as a sustainable alternative for nutrition and income. Here is their story.
Drought, combined with the lack of grazing land caused by urbanization and private land ownership, along with disease and banditry, have gradually led Rosemary Nanini to consider other means to make ends meet. According to Kenya's National Drought Management Authority, 2.6 million livestock died between 2021 and 2023, including cattle, goats, sheep, and camels across the arid and semi-arid lands region. These challenges have led women in pastoral communities to seek alternative sources of income. When cricket farming was introduced, many were initially skeptical. They struggled to understand how cricket farming could provide them with a sustainable income.
We believed crickets were a bad thing. We used to say that if crickets come to our homes, they will kill our cattle. Anytime we saw a cricket near our homes, we would kill it. But later on, we were educated that it is of value, and we informed everyone at home that cricket is not dangerous.
When they came to teach us, the Maasai, about crickets, we were shocked. What is this cricket? At first, we did not agree with the teachings. Why are we being taught about crickets? How will crickets help us? But when we agreed to be trained, we understood its value, and we know it will help us in the future.
The pastoralist community in Laikipia believed crickets posed a threat to their livestock, with some fearing the insects could cause death. As a result, whenever crickets were spotted near homesteads, they were often killed. They no longer kill crickets. Instead, they now hunt for them under rocks and place wet towels outside their homes at night to capture them.
The environment where crickets are reared can be controlled, where these crickets are reared in a controlled environment where the temperature can be moderated to meet the requirements that the cricket needs to grow. So in Kenya, one of the challenges that we may think of is drought. Now, in drought situations, this will affect first the livestock producers, especially in the pastoral communities, and now then the cricket now provides a safety net. But even the crickets themselves, when there's drought, you find that traditionally the food for the crickets may be limited.
Crickets are typically fed vegetables, maize flour and chicken feed, but cricket farming still faces challenges such as cultural acceptance, where people are hesitant to eat insects. There's also a lack of awareness about nutritional and environmental benefits of cricket-based products. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
Now, a small factory in Bukavu, Eastern Congo, is making nutritional Masoso biscuits as part of a local effort to combat malnutrition made worse by recent conflict and looting. Take a look.
In a small factory in Bukavu, Eastern Congo, workers knead dough and shape biscuits, part of a local initiative to combat malnutrition, exacerbated by recent conflict and looting. The M23 rebel takeover of Bukavu in February led to widespread looting of aid warehouses, including a World Food Program depot containing 6,800 metric tons of humanitarian food supplies. The theft worsened an already dire situation in a region where chronic malnutrition affects nearly half of all children. In response, local non-governmental organization Kesho Congo has ramped up production of nutritional biscuits called Masoso to fill the gap left by stolen aid.
We produce nutritional inputs, not only to treat malnutrition with local products and sustainable solutions, but also to respond to the current humanitarian crisis. We produce inputs that are distributed in health centers for treating acute or moderate malnutrition, but also for preventing chronic malnutrition. We respond where there are needs. You know well that the needs are immense currently, and we are present to respond within our means.
During this period, we have many difficulties. With the war, children used to come every day to have porridge here, but currently, we lack means and they struggle to get it daily. Today, we received a donation from Kesho Congo, biscuits made from Masoso and flour. This will really help us. We thank this partner organization.
The organization sources ingredients from thousands of local women farmers using corn, sorghum, and soy flour to create the fortified biscuits. At the Kitumaini Nutrition Center in Bukavu, children were seen eating the Masoso biscuits, a welcome relief for the facility struggling to maintain its feeding programs.
The chronic malnutrition rate in South Kivu is 48%, meaning about 1 in 2 children suffers from chronic malnutrition. It's a scourge. With the current situation, these numbers risk increasing considerably. It's therefore crucial that organizations commit to bringing solutions.
The initiative comes as the humanitarian situation in Eastern Congo continues to deteriorate. The United Nations estimates that M23's advances have displaced around 500,000 people since January. International response to the crisis has included U.S. sanctions on Rwandan officials for alleged support of M23, while Britain has paused some bilateral aid to Rwanda. The European Union is reviewing its agreement with Kigali for strategic minerals. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Senegal emerged as the overall winner at the 13th ECOWAS Traditional Wrestling Tournament held on March 8th, showcasing a variety of wrestling techniques from across West Africa under a newly implemented unified code. Take a look.
So ECOWAS developed a code that was specific to our wrestling. We went to member states, found what was common in the traditional wrestling practice across the board, and we put it into a document, which is now what is used here. And our second objective, of course, is after developing the discipline amongst our member states, to take it higher.
I'm very happy. You don't know, but you think I'm lose. I don't go in my country and nothing. But I win. I go in my country and medal. I'm happy. But my family happy.
I've lost all, but I still have hope because I'm a first timer. And today, my first match, I think everybody is applauding me. They are saying I'm doing well. I'm picking up.
And that's all the buzz in Africa this week. Talk to us on all our social media platforms. Your story always matters to us. Help us tell it to the world. Thank you for watching this week's episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Catch me on Token Money Magnet as I demystify tokenization for you, only on WION.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
we bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at